Hello, YouTube fam. Get ready for an amazing video experience. Greetings, explorers of knowledge. Join us as we embark on a quest to understand Yoon Suk Yeol. Yoon Suk Yeol, born 18 December 1960, is a South Korean politician who is the 13th 20th election and current president of South Korea since 2022. Prior to his presidency, he served as the Prosecutor General of South Korea between 2019 and 2021. Born in Seoul, Yoon attended Seoul National University. In his capacity as the chief of the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office, he played a key role in convicting former Presidents Park Geun-hye and Myung-bak for abuse of power. Yoon was appointed Prosecutor General of South Korea by President Moon Jae-in in July 2019. During Yoon's leadership, the Supreme Prosecutor's Office conducted embattled investigations into Cho Kuk, an influential figure in President Moon's administration, that would lead to Cho's resignation. Yoon's clashes with the Moon administration until his resignation as Prosecutor General in March 2021 led to his rise as a presidential candidate. In June 2021, Yoon announced his candidacy in the 2022 South Korean presidential election. He joined the right-wing People Power Party (PPP) in July and won the PPP nomination in November. Considered conservative and economically liberal, Yoon ran on a platform promising economic deregulation and other measures such as abolishing the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. Yoon narrowly defeated Democratic Party nominee Lee Jae-myung on 9 March 2022 and assumed office as president on 10 May 2022. During his presidency, Yoon has attempted to raise the maximum working hours, moved to repair ties with Japan, expanded military exercises with the US, and taken a harder line against North Korea. Without further ado, let's move on to the topic of early life and education. Yoon was born in Bomon-dong, Songbuk District, Seoul, in 1960 and raised in Yeonhwi-dong, Sodaemun District. His father, Yoon Ki-young, was born in Incheon and was a professor emeritus of economics at Yonsei University and a full member of the National Academy of Sciences of the Republic of Korea. His mother, Choi Seung-yeol, was born in Gangneung and was a lecturer at Women's University before leaving the position after getting married. Yoon attended Daegwon Elementary School and Jugrang Middle School, transferring to Chungam Middle School after finishing 8th grade. After graduating from Chungam High School, he studied law at Seoul National University. He is a colleague of Moon Kang-bae, a lawyer who described Yoon as an extrovert and faithful person. Shortly after the Gwonmyu uprising, Yoon and his colleagues held a mock trial, where he acted as a prosecutor, demanding the death penalty for Chun Do-hwan, the President of the Republic. Fearing imprisonment for his role in the mock trial, Yoon fled to Gangwon Province. Yoon was exempted in 1982 from national service due to anisometropia. Yoon later added that he was unable to obtain a driving license because of the condition. Yoon passed the first part of the bar exam in Year 4 of university but failed the second. He kept failing for the next 9 years. He finally passed the bar in 1991, in the same graduating class as Democratic Party Assemblyman and Minister of Justice Park Bin-ki. Let's now turn our attention to early career and uncover the fascinating insights it brings to the table. Yoon started his career at Daegu Public Prosecutor's Office in 1994. He headed the Special Branch and Central Investigation Department, both of which investigate corruption-related cases. In 1999, he arrested Assistant Commissioner Park Hoo-won, who was corrupt despite strong objections from bureaucrats in the Kim Dae-jung cabinet. In January 2002, Yoon worked briefly as a lawyer at Bae, Kim and Lee but left as he felt that he was not suited to the position. Upon his return as a prosecutor, he prosecuted such pro-Romu Hyeon figures as An Hee-young and Kang Koom-won. In 2006, he apprehended Chung Mong-koo for his complicity in a slush fund case at Hyundai Motor Company. In 2008, he worked for the independent counsel team resolving the BBK incident related to President Lee Myung-bak. In 2013, Yoon led a special investigation team that looked into the National Intelligence Service's involvement in the 2012 NIS public opinion manipulation scandal. Yoon sought the prosecution of the former head of the NIS, Won Si-hoon, for violating the Public Official Election Act. He accused Justice Minister Hwang Kyo-an of influencing his investigation. As a result, he was demoted from the Seoul Prosecutor's office to the Daegu and Daejeon Prosecutor's office. Yoon later became head of investigations in the Special Prosecutor team of Park Young-soo, which investigated allegations pertaining to the 2016 Choi Soon-sil scandal involving Choi, Samsung Vice Chairman Lee Jae-yong and then President Park Geun-hye, which led to the impeachment of the president in December 2016. On 19 May 2017, the newly elected President Moon Jae-in appointed Yoon as chief of the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office. The prosecution indicted two former presidents Lee Myung-bak and Park Geun-hye, three former NIS chiefs, former Chief Justice Yang Sung-tae and more than 100 other former officials and business executives under his tenure. Yoon also led an investigation into accounting fraud at Samsung. Brace yourself for a deep dive into Prosecutor General as we explore its impact and relevance in our evolving narrative. On 17 June 2019, Yoon was nominated as Prosecutor General, replacing Moon Jae-in. His nomination was welcomed by the ruling Democratic Party and the Party for Democracy and Peace, but was opposed by the Liberty Korea Party and the Baraner Party. The minor party Justice Party remained neutral. On 16 July, he was officially appointed as the new Prosecutor General and started his term 9 days later. President Moon ordered him to be neutral, adding that any kind of corruption must be strictly investigated though it is related to the government. During Yoon's leadership, the Supreme Prosecutor's Office launched investigations against Minister of Justice Cho Kuk, who was involved in various scandals. His decision to investigate Cho was welcomed by the conservative opposition but was condemned by the Democratic Party and its supporters. After Cho Mi-ae was appointed the new Minister of Justice, she took an action against several prosecutors close to Yoon. She attributed her decision to Yoon's failure to submit a reorganization plan for his department, which she requested, but this was seen as retaliation by the Blue House for Cho Kuk's prosecution. In April 2020, Democratic Party lawmakers again attacked Yoon and called on him to resign as the prosecution started investigations into election law violation cases involving both ruling and opposition politicians and also suspected election rigging of the Ulsan mayoral race for Mayor Song Cheol-ho in 2018 by senior secretaries at the Blue House. As we enter this new phase, let's navigate the complexities of suspension and reinstatement and discover its practical applications. On 24 November 2020, Minister of Justice Cho Mi-ae suspended Yoon from his position, citing alleged ethical violations, abuse of power, and interference into investigations of his associates and family members. Yoon filed an injunction against the minister's suspension order, which was approved by the Seoul Administrative Court on 1 December, temporarily halting the suspension. On 16 December, the Ministry of Justice then imposed a 2-month suspension on Yoon, accepting 4 of 6 major charges for disciplinary action. The decision was subsequently approved by President Moon. However, on 24 December, following an injunction filed at the Seoul Administrative Court, the suspension was overturned as the court accepted Yoon's claim that the process to suspend him was unfair. With our curiosity piqued, let's embark on a dedicated exploration of 2022 presidential election and its fascinating intricacies. Yoon had been considered a potential presidential candidate for the 2022 presidential election since the aftermath of the Cho Kuk controversies, appearing as a significant candidate in general election opinion polls since at least January 2020. In a January 2021 poll including all possible presidential candidates, Yoon led as the most favored with 30.4% of the vote, more than the individual supports for the ruling Democratic Party frontrunners Lee Jae-myung and Lee Nak-yeon. On 4 March 2021, Yoon tendered his resignation as the Prosecutor General, which was accepted by President Moon. On 29 June 2021, Yoon officially announced his candidacy in the 2022 presidential election. On 12 July, he registered with the National Election Commission as an independent candidate. On 30 July 2021, Yoon officially joined the Conservative People Power Party, which is currently the main opposition party in South Korea. Prior to this, Yoon had been a political independent, although his popular support came primarily from conservatives. Yoon was welcomed into the PPP by Cho Jae-hyung, a fellow 2022 presidential candidate, in a small public ceremony at the PPP headquarters located in Uido, Seoul. Choi was the former head of the Board of Audit and Inspection and had also just recently joined the PPP, officially having become a member on 15 July. Yoon's welcoming ceremony into the People Power Party notably did not include recently elected party leader Lee Jun-suk, who had been outside of Seoul at the time. During the primary election period, Yoon came under criticism for several perceived gaffes and controversial statements. In July, Yoon advocated for a 120-hour workweek while critiquing President Moon's policy of the 52-hour maximum workweek. Yoon advocated deregulating food safety standards because, in his opinion, poor people should be allowed to eat substandard food for lower prices, citing economist Milton Friedman's 1980 book Free to Choose, a personal statement as the inspiration for the idea. In August, Yoon stated that South Korea's recent feminist movement was a significant contributing factor to the issue of the nation's low birth rates. Later that same week, Yoon claimed during an interview with Busan Ilbo that there was basically no radiation leak from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster because the reactors themselves didn't collapse. On to September 2021, news website Newsverse reported that during his time as Prosecutor General, Yoon had allegedly ordered a senior prosecutor Sun Jun-sung and politician Kim Won to file politically motivated criminal complaints against Democratic Party politicians ahead of the 2020 legislative elections in an attempt to sway the elections. In response to the allegations, an internal investigatory probe was launched by the Supreme Prosecutor's Office, and an investigation was launched by the recently formed Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials (CIO). Yoon denied the allegations and reported informant Cho Sung-yoon and Director of the National Intelligence Service Park Ji-won to the CIO. In early September, support for PPP primary contender Hong Joon-pyo, who had been the nominee for PPP predecessor Liberty Korea Party in the 2017 presidential election, rose sharply in polls, which made Hong the most significant contender to Yoon since the beginning of the campaign cycle. A 6 September poll of contenders across all parties showed support for Hong at 13.6%, up from 4.2% a week earlier, behind Yoon who had support at 26.4%. During primary debates amongst PPP presidential candidates, Yoon appeared to have the Hanja character for king written on his left palm, a shamanist talisman for good luck. Yoon's primary opponents, including Hong Joon-pyo and Yoo Seung-min, criticized Yoon for using shamanist practices and made comparisons to the Choi Soon-sil scandal. In response to the criticism, Yoon stated that a supporter drew that as a message of support, encouraging me to be confident like a king during the debate, and that he had forgotten to wash the mark off. In October, Yoon made complimentary remarks about former authoritarian military dictator of South Korea Chun Doo-hwan. The remarks came during a meeting with People Power Party officials in Busan, during which Yoon said that many people still considered Chun as having done well in politics, except the military coup and the Gwonyu uprising, later adding that he believed even people in Honam, the geographic area including Gwonyu, felt the same way. Chun Doo-hwan, a widely maligned figure in South Korea, was responsible for numerous human rights abuses, including the torture and killings of innocent civilians. Yoon apologized for these remarks. However, news media and members of the Democratic Party speculated that a picture he posted on Instagram and later deleted indicated that the apology was insincere. The photo was of him feeding an apple to his dog, where the Korean words for apple and apology are homonyms. Yoon later denied the alleged symbolism of the photo. Yoon again apologized for his remarks when he visited the May 18th National Cemetery in Gwonyu on 10 November, although his visit was met by protesters. On 5 November 2021, Yoon officially won the nomination of the People Power Party for the 2022 presidential election. The win came after Yoon fought off a surge in support for rival candidate Hong Joon-pyo in the latter weeks of the primary. The nomination resulted from a 4-day period of voting by party members and the general public. Yoon Suk Yeol won 47.85% of the votes, a total of 347,963 votes, and of the remaining candidates Hong Joon-pyo won 41.5% of the votes, Yoo Seung-min won 7.47% of the votes, and Won Hee-ryong won 3.17% of the votes. On 7 November 2021, Yoon stated that if elected president he would pardon former presidents Myung-bak and Park Geun-hye, both of whom were serving lengthy prison sentences for corruption. Park Geun-hye was later pardoned by President Moon Jae-in on 24 December of that same year. Yoon narrowly won the 2022 presidential election that took place on 9 March 2022. Democratic Party candidate Lee Jae-myung conceded defeat in the early hours of the following day. Yoon won 48.56% of the votes, while Lee Jae-myung won 47.83% of the vote. Yoon's presidential election victory was by the closest margin in South Korean history. As we enter this new chapter, let's navigate the complexities of presidency at present and unravel its multifaceted nature. Presidency at present. Now, let's delve into the intricacies of relocation of presidential office and explore its various aspects. On 20 March 2022, he announced that he would establish his presidential office in the Ministry of National Defense building in Yongsan District, Seoul, instead of the Blue House, which was open to the public as a park on 10 May 2022. He would take office that day. This marked the end of the Blue House as the official presidential office and residence after 74 years. In the upcoming section, we'll be shining a light on economic policy. In 2023, Yoon attempted to raise South Korea's maximum weekly working hours from 52 to 69. However, widespread backlash, especially from the youth, led him to order government agencies to reconsider the plan. As we progress, let's zoom in on 2022 Police Bureau proposal and examine its role in shaping our overall narrative. In late July 2022, Yoon proposed the creation of a police bureau in order to ensure greater government oversight of the police force. In response, several police officers protested, claiming the measure was a dictatorial measure to compromise the political neutrality of the police. In response to the protests, Lee Sang-min, Yoon's interior minister, compared them to the 1979 coup d'etat of December 12, though he later walked back the remarks. Yoon himself also criticized the protests, saying, "Like many, I am also deeply concerned about the collective protest of the police chiefs, and calling it a serious breach of police discipline." Following the protests, the presidential office threatened to punish police officers. Additional remarks by Yoon Hee-kun, President Yoon's choice as Commissioner General of the National Police Agency, suggesting that police should focus on wages rather than the establishment of a police bureau, further inflamed tensions. With our foundation established, it's time to explore 2022 Seoul crowd crush and its relevance to our overarching theme. On 29 October 2022, at least 158 people were crushed to death when a crowd surged in an alleyway during Halloween festivities in Seoul's Itaewon district. President Yoon declared a state of official national mourning. As we progress, let's zoom in on foreign policy and examine its role in shaping our overall narrative. Yoon's foreign policy has mainly focused on deterring threats from North Korea and mending ties with Japan. Yoon has visited the United States and has considered sending weapons to Ukraine following the invasion by Russia. During his tenure so far, Yoon has made 6 presidential trips to 9 countries. He has met with fellow leaders, such as during the NATO Summit Madrid 2022, becoming the first South Korean leader to do so. Yoon later attended the NATO Summit in Lithuania the following year. He also attended the UN General Assembly and Global Fund's 7th Replenishment Conference in New York City. He met with US President Joe Biden. As we enter this new phase, let's analyze North Korea from different angles and evaluate its significance. In November 2023, Yoon's government suspended South Korea's participation in the Comprehensive Agreement Pact aimed at lowering tensions between South and North Korea after North Korea launched a satellite into space. Now, we shift our focus to United States, a topic that deserves our attention. During U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to South Korea, part of a larger tour of Asia, on 4 August 2022, Yoon snubbed a meeting with her, stating that he wanted to enjoy his vacation. On 25 April 2023, Yoon and First Lady Kim Geun-hye arrived in Washington, D.C., to mark 70 years of the alliance between the Republic of Korea and the United States. He visited Arlington National Cemetery to honor the lives lost in the Korean War. He also visited NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland with U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. The following day, Yoon was greeted by President Joe Biden at the White House for his state visit. During their meeting, the two stressed the importance of bilateral ties and deterring threats from North Korea. Later in the day, at his request, Elon Musk of Tesla and SpaceX scheduled a meeting with Yoon in Washington to discuss potential opportunities for Tesla production in South Korea. In the evening, Yoon was honored at a state dinner hosted by Biden. During the dinner, Biden remarked that he knew one of Yoon's favorite songs was Don McLean's American Pie. Yoon then sang the ballad in front of rapturous applause. Yoon was then presented a guitar signed by the singer Don McLean. 2 days later, on 27 April 2023, Yoon addressed a joint session of the United States Congress in the Capitol building. In his speech, Yoon emphasized the long-standing relationship between the United States and Korea, noting how past language barriers were no longer an issue thanks to cultural ties. He affirmed their alliance was stronger than ever. Without further ado, let's move on to the topic of Queen Elizabeth's funeral. While in London for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, Yoon's opponents accused him of disrespect when he missed the chance to view the Queen's coffin lying in state, which he blamed on traffic. In this part of the video, we'll be diving deep into MBC problem and unraveling its profound impact. Yoon's People Power Party sued for senior executives of local broadcaster Munma Broadcasting Corporation, including MBC TV head Park Sung-ji, on grounds of defamation after news outlets initially reported that he insulted the U.S. Congress. On 21 September 2022, after chatting with U.S. President Joe Biden outside the 7th Global Fund meeting in New York City, Yoon was filmed telling his aides and top diplomats, "Wouldn't lose face if these Soki do not pass it in the legislature." Although the audio is hard to discern, MBC, who broke the story on air, determined in its subtitles that he said Biden in an apparent reference to the latter's bid to increase the American contribution to the Global Fund by $6 billion, an act that would require congressional approval. Yoon's office denies that he was talking about Biden or the U.S. Congress. Instead, it claims that he was expressing concern that his country's opposition-controlled parliament would reject his plans for a $100 million contribution to the same fund, and his press secretary Kim Geun-hye suggested that the word he uttered was not Biden, but Nalmian, a similar-sounding word that means to blow or waste. The video swiftly went viral, having been viewed repeatedly by millions. The controversy has also brought press freedom in South Korea to the public eye over the civil conduct involving MBC, with some press freedom groups, including the International Federation of Journalists, criticizing the lawsuit as politically motivated. A poll of 1,002 adult Koreans found his approval rating falling to 27.7%, a 3.7% drop from 3 weeks before, and that the majority 61.2% believed Yoon said Biden compared to the 26.9% who thought he said Nalamian. And another poll of 1,000 adult Koreans found an even greater majority 70.8% who said that he should directly apologize for his profanity versus the 27.9% who said he did not need to apologize. The Korean Ministry of Foreign Affairs sued MBC to restore trust in diplomacy. This has been likened to the oppression of journalists by the Lee Myung-bak government in the past. Prepare yourself for an eye-opening discussion on Japan in the upcoming portion of this video. Yoon has been accused of having a pro-Japanese stance on historical issues and colonialism by liberals and some conservative politicians in South Korea. Yoon Suk Yeol's government does not seek direct compensation or apology from the Japanese government and companies for victims of forced labor, a war crime committed by the Empire of Japan government and Japanese companies during World War II, but instead expresses its stance to receive voluntary donations from South Korean companies through the foundation as a solution to the 2018 South Korean Supreme Court ruling, which demanded compensation from companies and the Japanese government for past war crimes against victims who were forcibly recruited by the Japanese Empire during World War II. The Democratic Party of Korea (DPK) criticized this, saying, "It tramples on the victims and represents Japan's companies' interests." The Justice Party (JP) also joined DPK in declarations of the state of affairs to criticize the Yoon Suk Yeol government. As of March 2023, 11 of the 15 surviving victims opposed the Yoon Suk Yeol government's solution and demanded direct compensation from the Japanese government and companies. Yoon Suk Yeol's remarks at a commemorative event related to the Seoul 3.1 or 1 March 2023 caused a great controversy in South Korea. Seoul celebrates Koreans' spirit of resistance to regain their identity from colonial Japan. Yoon Suk Yeol said, "Korea lost its national sovereignty and suffered because it was not properly prepared for historical changes in the world at the time, and we should reflect on this past." The remarks drew criticism from the opposition parties in the South Korea as channel, colonialist historical perspective, and pro-Japanese highly submissive diplomacy. The DPK and the JP also strongly criticized his remarks. On 16 March 2023, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida held a summit with Yoon in Tokyo to settle wartime labor disputes, among other issues. Yoon also met with Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan (CDP) leader Kenta Izumi, who discussed several bilateral disputes between the countries with Yoon, including the Statue of Peace, which Izumi asked Yoon to remove. On 7 May 2023, Prime Minister Kishida visited Seoul in a historic trip to further deepen ties. Yoon emphasized that historical issues had to be completely settled. Kishida also expressed sympathy to Korean victims of colonial Japan. However, Kishida was criticized by many South Korean media because he did not apologize for forced labor victims during World War II and did not mention Japan's responsibility for war crimes. Some South Korean politicians also expressed strong dissatisfaction that Kishida did not apologize. Yoon and Kishida met with United States President Joe Biden on 18 August 2023 at Camp David in the United States. The three announced the Camp David Principles, a set of strategies to counter the influence of China, North Korea, and Russia, as well as limit the risk of economic disruptions in the future. As we move forward, let's uncover the untold stories and fascinating intricacies of Ukraine. In a Reuters interview on 19 April 2023, President Yoon Suk Yeol hinted at supplying lethal aid to Ukraine, stating, "If there is a situation the international community cannot condone, such as any large-scale attack on civilians, massacre or serious violation of the laws of war, it might be difficult for us to insist only on humanitarian or financial support." Previously, South Korea had only provided humanitarian and economic aid to Ukraine. Yoon linked the struggle in Ukraine to the Korean War when the international community supported South Korea. He added, "I believe there won't be limitations to the extent of the support to defend and restore a country that's been illegally invaded both under international and domestic law. However, considering our relationship with the parties engaged in the war and developments in the battlefield, we will take the most appropriate measures." In response, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev suggested that Russia could supply North Korea on a quid pro quo basis. The Democratic Party of Korea, Justice Party, and Progressive Party, along with other liberal and progressive parties, opposed the Yoon Suk Yeol administration's policy toward Ukraine, fearing that his pro-Ukraine diplomacy would lead to Russia supporting North Korea's weapons and South Korean companies being penalized by Russia's economic sanctions. In August 2023, Yoon announced that South Korea would provide $394 million in financial aid to Ukraine for 2024, an eightfold increase from 2023. In this section, we'll be deep diving into public approval, unraveling its complexities and uncovering valuable insights. Less than 3 months into his presidency, Yoon's approval rating dropped to less than 30% amidst the inflation, a controversial education policy rollout including a proposal to lower the starting elementary school age from 6 to 5, controversies over nepotism in personnel appointments, the police bureau proposal, and conflicts within Yoon's People Power Party. His popularity fell further to 19% in August. In December, Yoon's approval rating rose back to above 40% for the first time in 5 months. By April 2023, this has dropped back to 30%, largely due to widespread disapproval of Yoon's Japanese policy. In this section, we'll be exploring political positions. Yoon identifies himself as conservative. Chung Do-won, a former conservative member of parliament, has considered Yoon a conservative. Political commentator Chin Young-kwon called his political inclination libertarianism. He has also been described as a social conservative. His critical attitude toward feminism, nationalist nature, and hostile attitude toward the opposition and the liberal media have led the media and experts to call him and his policies K-Trumpism or K and far-right, allegations denied by him and his supporters. The spotlight now falls on economics as we delve deeper into its details. Yoon opposes economic interventionism by the government and is generally regarded as pro-business and as a fiscal conservative. He has cited economist Milton Friedman and Friedman's 1980 book Free to Choose, a personal statement, as a major influence on his belief in economic liberalism. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, Yoon will attempt to reduce dependence on China and promote supply chain resilience. Brace yourselves for the next chapter, where we'll be dissecting gender equality policy. President Yoon entered office with a pledge to abolish the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. Political conflict related to issues of gender was intense in South Korea in 2022. He announced that the new government would not address gender as a collective issue, but rather focus on and respond to specific individual issues. As of May 2022, there were only 3 women among the state councillors of the Yoon Suk Yeol government and only 2 women among the vice-ministerial level officials. This was criticized as a lack of women's representation in the government. In response to these criticisms, Yoon appointed Park Soon-ae as the Minister of Education and Kim Sung-hee as the Minister of Welfare, increasing the ratio of female to male ministers in the cabinet to 30%. However, Park Soon-ae resigned on 5 August, just 34 days into her tenure. Yoon's approval rating had fallen from 30% to 24%, largely due to public backlash against Park's school reform plans. With our curiosity piqued, let's embark on a dedicated exploration of military and its fascinating intricacies. Yoon has expressed active support for the possibility of South Korea having indigenous nuclear weapons. The Carnegie Endowment for International Peace referred to his policy as nuclear populism. Some research shows that nationalist attitudes and anti-American sentiment are prevalent among supporters of an indigenous nuclear arsenal. On 22 September 2021, Yoon stated that he will ask that the United States redeploy tactical nuclear weapons in South Korea if there is a threat from North Korea. Nuclear weapons have not been deployed by the US in South Korea since the early years, after an agreement with Russia and in an effort to ease tensions between North and South Korea. Speaking for the United States, U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Japan and Korea Mark Lambert rejected Yoon's call for the renuclearization of South Korea and said the proposal was against U.S. policy. On 12 November 2021, Yoon indicated that he would be open to more USTHAAD missile deployments in South Korea. Let's now venture into the realm of personal life and explore the fascinating intricacies it holds. President Yoon has been married to Kim Geun-hye since 2012. His wife has stated that she prefers the term first spouse instead of the first lady. Kim is the president of Covenant Contents, a company that focuses on art exhibitions. Kim has faced an investigation that alleged she had taken kickbacks for hosting art exhibitions, in addition to reports that circulated in the South Korean media that she inflated her resume with connections to New York University's Stern School of Business. She responded by offering a public apology. Yoon is the fourth South Korean president who is a Catholic, after Moon Jae-in, Roh Moo-hyun, and a lapsed Catholic, Kim Dae-jung and Roh Tae-woo. He was baptized with the Christian name Ambrose. Now, we shift our focus to honors a topic that deserves our attention. Knight of the Order of the White Eagle, 13 July 2023. Knight Grand Cross with Collar of the Order of Merit of the Italian Republic, 7 October. I Profile in Courage Award, 29 October 2023. Honorary Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the Bath, 21 November 2023. Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the Netherlands Lion, 12 December 2023. I'm here to provide you with the best information, so let me know what else you'd like to learn about.